Welcome to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G. This podcast is all about connecting the community with the thought leaders of business and entertainment in the cannabis industry. As this industry expands and becomes more and more mainstream, we want to educate and entertain our listeners and become your choice and voice for all things cannabis. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. Have you visited MJ.com? MJ.com is the online destination where you can find everything you need to know about the emerging legal marijuana industry. Where else can you find the latest original content, news, and trends? Connect to a local doctor to obtain your medical marijuana card, receive exclusive brand savings, and have your favorite product delivered straight to your front door? MJ.com has it all. Go check them out. Welcome to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today our special guest is Charles Piermarini. He is out in Arizona. He is the founder and CEO of Restorative Care of Arizona. He's going to tell us all about that. He's going to tell us about his experience with CBD and working with some of the state law agencies to try and get some new things passed. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give the listeners a little background on who Charlie is?
Yeah. So I'm a board-certified physician assistant, 3 master's degrees, 1 in physiology, 1 in public health, and 1 in physician assistant studies. Worked in family for a year, urgent care, moonlighting for a couple of years, in pain management for the last almost 4 years. And so just kind of knee deep in the opioid crisis and chronic pain patients, and just I'm coming from that aspect.
Let's dive right into that. There's obviously a huge hot button topic on making medical marijuana legal nationally. Obviously, a whole bunch of states have done that already, and it's the proponents of it believe that it can, diminish the opioid problems or the reliance on some of those opioid products for medicine or people that use it for recreational. What are your thoughts on the cannabis plant as an alternative to that prescription drugs that are out there and so prevalent?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously very loaded. I'll start my primer for this is I've never used cannabis a day in my life, marijuana. I do obviously take CBD, but I've never used marijuana. So I'm coming strictly from a medical perspective. It's very convoluted. I think there's probably a lot of pharmaceutical money in here that's blocking this, obviously. But I mean, it's only been a short since the 1930s and 40s when actually doctors were using this. It was in the pharmacopoeia, and they were prescribing marijuana for certain ailments. And, then all of a sudden in the 60s, in the 40s and the 50s, when they, deemed it as being, the marijuana tax and all that stuff, and then kind of went away. But I think when marijuana, it's going to come back to where, I don't know if it'll come back to where it was, but it will come back into common medical practices. And the problem is I don't know in what delivery. Is it going to be CBD? Is it going to be full cannabis? I think even if it is just CBD, I think that's better than some of the alternatives that we have for opioids. I use it in my daily practice with my patients, and getting people, some of the text messages and just patients showing, they're coming off of their hydrocodone and their opioids, and they're just using, CBD, or sometimes they're using CBD in conjunction with cannabis. And, I think the studies know there are a few published studies that show that the states that have medical cannabis laws do have less opioid use. Probably doesn't make a lot of those opioid pharmaceutical companies happy. But I think they are, honestly, the industry has pushed so much change that they are now starting to take it serious to the point of where they are starting to, if you look at the way the laws are being structured, it's really just in favor for the pharmaceutical companies to getting the ability and the pathways to be coming to market. I mean, the federal government owns the patents on cannabidiol for the treatment of certain ailments. The patent was done, 10, 15 years ago. So they know that there's something to it, and it's only a matter of time before it becomes an accepted use and treatment for people. And out of the dark space, when people are in the back alley getting it. Instead, they're going to be getting it from medical professionals that have education and actually can help people with it.
So what have you seen? We see proponents of CBD. We see the doubters of CBD use, people that have tried it and it's been great. people that have tried it, it's done nothing. What has your experience been with your clinic and your experience yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a couple layers to that. One, I think CBD and hemp and cannabis works. I think it's very, very, very user dependent, and it's a personal journey. What I tell a lot of patients, and kind of going through the medical 411 certification process on how to coach patients on cannabis uses, have them take a log, and it works. And it may not be to the extent of taking a Percocet or an opioid. It probably won't work to that extent, but it can work in conjunction, or it can work in other lifestyle modifications. There are a lot of crap products out there because people saw this as a green gold rush of creating your own CBD company, making millions. And so there are a lot of crap products that people are getting. And when they say it doesn't work, a lot of times it's because they haven't been coached properly, and they're not taking legitimate products, and they're not taking honestly high enough doses. So, it's kind of, that's a multifaceted answer on how to really get the best from your cannabis or your CBD experience. It's a personal journey, but that makes it fun from a medical provider standpoint. Is actually patient has some type of stake in their treatment. Now, it's not just me prescription, actually me having a discussion with them and saying, hey, let's try this, let's split up your dosing. So it's kind of more of the art rather than just writing a prescription and going on the next patient. So it's kind of fun for the provider and the patient.
Yeah, it is. At this point, it's trial and error on the whole cannabis plant, really, because there's so little education, even for the doctors, right, and the patients. So there's a lot of patients that have just used it recreationally, when they first got stoned in college or something like that. And now all of a sudden CBD is a relatively new part of the plant that they're taking. So they don't have the education on what does it really do for you. So it's trial and error. We don't know what brands are real, which are fake, like you said. And then the doctors can't legally prescribe cannabis because it's not federally legal. So they have to make recommendations. And then people go to the dispensaries and basically rely on the bud tender or dispensary for what should they take. And then they have to compile that data. So it's strange being in this new part of the industry as it's emerging and all that data is being compiled that can really help people in the future. So is your company just doing CBD, or do you plan on also, recommending cannabis down the road, or are you doing that already?
Right now, we're just doing a broad spectrum CBD because working in the pain management world, we drug test people. We can't have them having THC. And so I'm in a couple pain clinics here in Arizona. So I've had to formulate just kind of a broad spectrum. I'm coming out with a full spectrum line with, the 0.3% THC in the next couple of weeks. Full cannabis, that kind of leads up to what me and your discussion prior is, the state of Arizona, when they wrote the medical recommendation laws, they left out physician assistants and nurse practitioners. I don't know why. So I worked with a couple lawmakers locally to try and get the law rewritten to include us. And it did get 2 votes, got to a committee, and the committee actually ended up killing it. There was a certain, I think his name is John Allen. He's a local guy here, representative, that killed all the marijuana bills. For what reason, I don't know. It's just a matter of time. It'll be full recreational here in Arizona, probably on the November ballot. It's expected to go full rec. And just getting access to legitimate products and getting it off of the streets gets people the ability to actually get the medicinal part of it, right? And these bud tenders, a lot of these people are, the bud tenders do know what they're talking about in the sense of different strains and terpene profiles. So I think a lot of times they do know more than a lot of the medical professionals, which is sad to say.
So cannabis is medically legal in Arizona, correct?
Correct.
And are you allowed to deliver in Arizona, or do patients have to go pick up their product at a dispensary?
Think they can deliver. I'm not too well versed in the dispensary side of things, but I think they can deliver. I've talked to a few people that have some of those businesses, but the dispensary in Arizona is deemed medically essential. So the lines have been just, astronomical out the door. People are waiting for their medicine. I mean, both for medicinal purposes, but also, the anti-anxiety properties with the uncertain times when people are using it at pretty high rates, I feel. And I think it's just a matter of time before, I don't think the federal government will ever really latch on to it. I think they're going to leave it in a state by state. If you look at the Cole memo and the Wilkins, all those federal laws kind of leaving it to the states to regulate the federal government's trying to be hands off. It's a very convoluted industry, and I never realized it until putting my hat in the ring until very recently of how really convoluted it is just to get credit card processing, right? So
yeah, it's very difficult for so many of these small businesses because it's the Wild West as far as regulations. Like you said, every state and every city and county even have their own laws to some extent. So it's really difficult for these small businesses that we talk to a lot to, like you said, get credit card processing. Can they deliver? Do people have to come in? The rules are different all over the place. I'm hoping in the upcoming presidential election that cannabis legalization becomes a hot button topic. So there's just ease of transaction, which can hopefully eliminate the black market and make everything legalized, regulated, and you're getting a top-notch product for the people that really need it.
Yeah. I don't know what the specific statistics are, but I know Denver is putting to good use their marijuana tax dollars. I think for what schools and stuff and public education, they're doing it for really good stuff. And, I think people will always use the black market because it's cheaper, but the people that really do rely on it for medicinal purposes are going to know that they want legitimate products and specific strains. So they're going to want to go to the legitimate places to pick it up and get education and pay a little bit. You pay for what you get, right? And so this is just a crazy, crazy field and a crazy market, and especially coming from medicine where it's pretty established in kind of knowing what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then getting into marijuana where it's just like, or CBD, cannabis in general, it's just kind of a wild west from the laws all the way down to how you even implement into your practice.
It's true. So Charlie, where can people find out more about your company or more about you, whether it's on social or get in touch with your team if they have any questions, if they may be a possible local customer?
Yeah, great question. So my wellness clinic's in Phoenix. You can reach it at restorativecare.az.com. And then my CBD company we ship nationally is restorativecbd.com. Restorative CBD is, I got the trademark for medically assisted CBD through the patent office. So patients kind of have an understanding the product is legitimate. It's higher doses. The CBD, the tincture I use is 3,000 milligrams. Just I know patients need higher doses and it's more economical for them. So yeah, restorativecbd.com. We ship. I'm about to actually go ship out some orders right now, and I just welcome any conversations around cannabis and related to pain management or anxiety and stuff like that. But I really think we just stuff like what you're doing, just continue to push the whole industry forward in a legitimate manner is so important.
Thank you. And okay, before we finish up, give us something that you're excited about the general cannabis or CBD industry and something that concerns you.
Wow, the biggest thing that can part is how illegitimate some of these companies and products are. Obviously, that goes without being said. The very famous JAMA article from 2017 with, I think, 80% of products didn't even come close to what they were stating on the bottle for their concentrations. That what excites me is that has gained so much popularity that people are demanding legitimate. So the industry is kind of cleaning itself up. And like you said, the presidential election coming this year, I think cannabis will be part of it. Obviously, they got bigger stuff now, but I think cannabis will be part of it. And I think it's going to be becoming more and more legal in all these different states. And so it's an exciting market to be part of, and it's an exciting field. And people, it's great that people are getting help from more natural sources.
Excellent. Charles Piermarini, thank you so much for taking the time and being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And we will see everyone next time on the Pot.Live podcast. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive Pot Made of the Month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit.